Have you ever been so fed up with a job that you just thought about leaving your truck right where it's parked? Hey, I get it. It's frustrating to work somewhere that you don't feel valued for the hard work that you do. But before you walk away and leave your truck, it's important for you to know what you can expect if you do leave your truck behind, because it can hurt your chances of finding another job in this industry. Today, Blake's going to talk you through what will happen if you do leave your truck, and we'll talk through some of the things you should do if you're ready to quit.
Hi, my name is Blake Hegberg. I'm an operations manager with the ATS van division. As an operations manager, I've had quite a bit of experience throughout my time with truck abandonments and the after effects of truck abandonments. I've also dealt a lot in the recruiting process of bringing on drivers or not letting drivers come onto the company who do have truck abandonments. So today we're going to talk about how abandoning a truck can affect you and your reputation in the transportation industry. So what is truck abandonment? Truck abandonment is any time that you leave your truck at an unauthorized location. For lease contractors, that would generally be any time you are not bringing your truck back to where your lease originated. On the company end of the spectrum, that would be anytime you're not bringing the truck back to an approved terminal. So a couple forms of truck abandonment would be leaving your truck at a shop while it's broken down, quitting under dispatch, leaving it on the side of the road, leaving it at a truck stop, or just at any shipper or receiver. Often we find more than not that people are leaving their truck cleaned out at a truck stop. What happens to an abandoned truck? So anytime you are abandoning a truck, you have to look at it from the company's perspective. They're gonna accrue costs anywhere between $2,500 to $5,000 to get another driver just to recover it. If that vehicle was towed or impounded, there's gonna be additional costs associated with that. You're also putting, depending on if you have a truck and trailer or just a truck, you're putting that equipment in danger of being vandalized. So think of it this way, there's $200,000 sitting on the side of the road ready for anybody to do whatever they want with it. So generally how trucking companies find out about when a driver abandons the truck is if they can't get in contact with their driver for 12 to 24 hour period of time, they do a welfare check on that driver. Otherwise, the local authorities, a fellow truck driver calls in to us to see about doing a welfare check. And then we would find out that the truck is cleaned out at a truck stop. We can no longer get in contact with that driver, and then we have to start the truck recovery process. So almost all reputable trucking companies these days have some sort of GPS in their trucks, whether that be through their Qualcomm or separate Lytx cameras, for example, would all be tools that we would use to locate that truck. Otherwise, the old school, get a call from a truck stop, get a call from a tow yard, and they tell you where the truck is located. So once we do identify a driver, we usually fly them down to that location. If not, they're not comfortable flying, we get them a rental car. So drivers generally have to go into a local dealer, get keys cut, a new fresh key made. They go to the truck and we start the process of bringing it back. With the truck recovery process, we don't make our drivers stay in the truck depending on what type of shape it is in. So we also accrue quite a bit of hotel costs. So what happens to a driver when they abandon a truck? Abandoning a truck will basically ensure that you're not going to get hired at any other reputable company. No company is going to want to take the risk on somebody that is willing to leave a $150,000 to $200,000 asset in an unauthorized location. At the end of the day, it is not worth that risk for the transportation company. So generally those drivers get sent home. When we find out about a truck abandonment, sometimes we don't find out about a truck abandonment until a driver is in class. If a driver's in our orientation process and we find out they abandoned their previous truck, that's usually followed up with either recruiting or operations initiating a send home. And that also gets reported on their DAC. So in the recruiting process, Most carriers are required in their guidelines to go through a DAC check, a driver A check, which is basically a driver report of that driver's history, that driver's, what they've done at previous companies, whether that be safety issues, preventable DOTs, non-preventable DOTs, as well as truck abandonments. Most reputable companies have a guideline where they won't take a driver with any truck abandonments on their records. Some companies these days have shifted more towards a guideline where they won't take a driver with a truck abandonment that is newer than 7 years. So basically what happens in the recruiting process, if they do find out you have a truck abandonment on their record, they generally verify that that truck abandonment is legit, often verifying with that company. Once we verify that the truck abandonment is a legitimate truck abandonment, we will not proceed with that driver. Not only will good companies not hire you, you will also be responsible for those truck recovery charges. So like I said, truck recovery is anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000. But you also have to put into play that that truck has to be brought back to one of that company's locations to be prepped for another driver to seat it. So when they prep it, they're going to take care of any maintenance issues that it may have, as well as any vandalism that occurred during the time that that truck was abandoned. A lot of companies set up maintenance accounts for drivers where they build the maintenance account up so they're able to afford their maintenance when they break down on the road or at the terminal. That maintenance account generally gets completely absorbed on the truck recovery charges as well as the truck prep cost. If you work with your fleet manager to get your truck turned in, on a leasing side, 45 days after a termination is ran, you would be released those excess funds. In a truck abandonment situation, you would not. Lastly, let's cover why drivers abandon trucks. Abandoning a truck often comes out of desperation, frustration. It could have some things to do with, things going on at home, medical procedure that's coming up. Always work with your fleet manager to get a truck returned back to a terminal. Most companies, and when I say most, I'm going back to the reputable companies again, almost all reputable companies will work with you to get that asset returned back to them. Whether that means, getting creative on how it's getting returned, finding you transportation home, working with you on timelines. There's almost always a way to get the truck recovered back and turned in so you can leave that truck on good mutual terms where you can either use that company as a reference again or, at a later date, maybe come back to it. In my experience, almost all situations you can work through them with your fleet manager, and if you can't work through them with your direct manager, it is okay to go above them to a different manager to work something out to make sure that you're leaving on good terms and you're not getting that red mark on your DAC report where no recruiter is going to want to touch you.
At this point, you should realize the consequences of abandoning your truck. If you're concerned about getting a truck back to a location that's approved by your carrier before you have to be at orientation for another job, talk to your fleet manager. They can work with you to get transportation home as long as you bring the truck back to a location they're okay with. Carriers lose a lot of money when trucks are abandoned, so they'll typically accommodate you so you can get their asset back, even if that means they allow you to drop it off at another terminal that they normally wouldn't allow you to drop off at. So remember, you might feel upset with your carrier or be burned out, but hopping jobs or abandoning your truck isn't the solution. If you're frustrated and want to jump to another job, take a look at the article we linked below. It'll help you decide when it's the right time to move on to a new job and when it's not. Thanks again for watching another edition of Over the Road on the Truck Driving channel. We make videos like this every week, so if you found this to be helpful, give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you out on the road.